Hello and welcome to the back of my 1965 F100 project. My name's Liam, and in this series I'm going to be exploring the full renovation of this truck. This truck was a project when I bought it. It was running, it was driving. It's not anymore, but we're going to fix that. We're going to make it better. But there's one big problem. I have zero mechanical experience, nothing. I'm a software developer by trade, and I've run a number of businesses. So if you want to come along on this journey, please like and subscribe. So 1965 F100, originally from Idaho. As you can see, patinaed on the outside. No bodywork is going to be done to this. It's going to remain exactly as it is. And then if we look around, so we could look, we can see it's beautiful. All that history kind of in there. I think the original owner actually sort of made this a bit more rusty as well, which is pretty cool. I do think you need to clean up. The bed itself, where we sat before, it just needs tidying, just sort of sealing back in so that we don't get that, so you don't put your hand on it and end up muggy. So what are we going to do with it? That's the big question. What are we going to do with this truck? Well, at the moment, this truck has had some work done. As I mentioned, it was a running, working project when I got hold of it. The gentleman that had it before me, really cool guy. You can find him online. I'll pop a link below. Really loved this and kind of put his passion into this, a real car guy. He's replaced the engine. In fact, he's replaced everything underneath. So the engine's been replaced with a crate motor, a 347 stroker, which we'll go have a look at in a second. I need to get this hood off. Not very good light over here, so I'll get that off when I can get someone to come and help me move it. Matched up to a Tremec 5-speed. Which is really cool. And then he has done the suspension, wheels, rear diff. So underneath was solid. The only thing that I found when I test drove it was it's still running on these stock drum brakes, and is no power steering. So, which usually isn't a problem, but for me, I've got to get it up. When I get it up my drive, trying to turn it around, it took a long time to try and sort of get that big heavy truck turning. So I've got a couple of things. The first is obviously the brakes. We got parts ordered from the US that are coming in. The engine's producing around 450 horsepower, which is pretty wild by modern standards. But in this, on the original drum brakes, it's a little bit sketchy. So I want to get them fronts replaced for discs, which I've ordered. The rears can stay on the drums, which is pretty similar to the Mustang you might have seen behind me. We'll talk about that one in a second. And then interior is pretty non-existent at the moment. Like I said, I took the bench seat out, and that's where I was sat before, just storing it up there. That needs recovering. That's an easy one. But on the interior, I'm just going to flip this around. So interior at the moment is very similar to the outside. We've done the gentleman before me has done the majority of the insulation. Need carpets, but that will be last on the list. One of the big tasks I've got to get done with this is the wiring. The wiring has been redone. And it's all fine. However, I did blow the window motor. There's a wiper motor, just sits, I won't be able to see it from this angle, but just sits under the dash behind the radio. And I think it had just shorted, the wiper motor shorted, sucked too much power through the switch panel and blew the ignition switch. So that's why it looks a bit chaotic in here at the moment. So my plan is to dismantle it, understand where all the cables are coming from, and then put it all back in a different way. So I've got some plans for the switches. I want to move the switch box. So originally the switch box is mounted on a panel here that came down, but I want to kind of put it on the floor here, just above the gearbox, and then have the fuses and whatnot at the behind, so we can free up this glove box as well. So that's the interior. The electric's probably one of the first things to do. The other thing that let's go have a look at the engine, because the other thing I want to do inside the engine bay, which I've also ordered the parts for in the US. Like I mentioned, it's running on these stock drums. It's also running on the original cylinder, so it's a single pot cylinder with no power brakes. So I'm going to change that to be the dual master cylinder and the power brakes, which again should just improve the drivability, especially here in the UK where we don't often get dry conditions. So engine, as I mentioned, 347 stroker motor, crate engine. I think it's done no more than 1,000 miles at the moment, so it's more than enough for this truck. And it sort of gives us plenty of a good platform to kind of work from, which is good. This is obviously single pot cylinder. We'll get that replaced and get the power brakes in there as well, which I think will just add to the whole drivability, make it much more usable across the board. This engine bay, original intention was to keep it really clean. As you can see, it's pretty awesome in here. Everything's hidden behind these panels, which is incredible. I am going to ruin that a little bit by bringing in the booster and the larger sort of brake configuration over there. And what else have I got to do in here? I've ordered just a little thing. I've ordered like a dipstick. It's missing a dipstick at the moment. Previous owner didn't want one, which is fine. More kind of a race setup. And there's no choke on the carb. I'll get the air filter off. But there's no choke on the carb at the moment, so the startup is a bit of a pain, really. And again, if I wanted to jump in on Sunday and drive it, I'm going to get the choke configured. So again, I've got the cable coming, and that'll just reroute through to the original components. But as I mentioned, the only thing that, well, one of the main things that won't be changing on this truck will be the bodywork and the patina, because it's perfect as it is. And I think it attracted a lot of attention when it arrived. It's one of the things that drew me to it. And yeah, I think this is spot on. Do you have a new mirror? So I ordered, we got one on this side, none on the other. So again, all of the stuff that I'm going to try and do to it is just a case of bringing it to a point where on a Sunday I can jump in, start it up, take it to a show, take it to an event, go for a drive. That's the intention with it. And then maybe we'll even get to the point where it goes to Santa Pod, to the drag strip, because I believe that was the intention of this truck originally. So loads of options really, an exciting project ahead. Let's have a look at the Mustang. Okay, so this is a 1968 Ford Mustang Fastback. Completely different to the truck that we've just been looking at. This is my pride and joy in many ways. I bought this car after I sold the business. This car has a lot of meaning, but it's pristine. You know, if this is the big ugly sister at the moment, this is the belle of the ball, and this car wants for very little. There's one issue at the moment, which is the power steering's got a leak on it, but I think that's pretty common on these. As you can see, interior gold, Bullitt-style on the outside with the torque thrust wheels, and the Highland Green, or close to Highland Green colour. Most of the purists will tell you it's not a Bullitt, it doesn't have the right engine, and obviously the interior isn't black, and it is on an automatic, which you'd be surprised at how many times I get told that at shows, but you can't please everybody. Let's have a quick look at the engine. Just going to go and grab a light. Should help. So this is the original 289 engine in here. So 4.7 litres for you non-free folk. Power brakes, air conditioning. It's just in wonderful condition all around. I've done some minor work to this over the last 2 years or so. It's had new suspension bushings, a couple of minor wiring fixes, but it really does want for nothing. And there's very, because this is the original engine, and I believe the original gearbox, but I need to check that. I need to get underneath and have a proper look. Because it is that original one, there's not a huge amount I can do with this. So that really was what drove the purchase of Spud, as he's been aptly named by my wife and daughter. It's probably worth mentioning, when I bought this car, when I first saw it, it was actually in the original gold colour. This car was an original, I've got the Marty report, I'll probably put a link to it somewhere, but it was originally gold on gold, which I've got some pictures of when it was in the US. Again, I'll stick them there or somewhere on the screen at the moment. The gentleman that I bought it from asked if was in the process of changing the colour, and asked if I was still happy with that, and I went along with it. And I think the result is pretty spectacular. The car was actually taken right back to metal before it was repainted. And again, I'll stick some photos of that here so you can see the process. But yeah, just a great car. Turn the key, go, happy days. It's not been out of the garage for a few months. Too much salt on the roads at the moment in the UK. Just not a good environment, but we aren't far off that now. So what's the plan? Well, the plan first, I need to get this garage tidied up. As you can see, I've got tools everywhere. I've got bits of stuff everywhere, and I've got a lot of parcels, which some of you might have seen. A few of them arrived last week. The rest of them are due on Monday. So I'm going to clean up the garage, get everything sorted, And then in the next video, we'll go over all the items that have arrived from the US or should have arrived from the US and what we're going to do with the truck in terms of the next part of the plan. I need to look at a objective in terms of we've got wiring, we've got brakes, we've got some cosmetic stuff. What else have we got to do? Oh, I didn't mention the other thing we need to do as well. The original fuel tank is still, let's have a look. Original fuel tank is, get you in, is still here. So the original fuel tank sits behind the seat, behind the whole bench seat. I'm going to say the driver's seat, but the driver and passenger seat, which is fine. But the two problems, one is in an accident, that's pretty 1960s safety. And the second, the biggest one really is the smell. It smells of fuel in there because of the vented gas cap. So being that this isn't a everyday truck, most people move that from there, or not most people, but a lot of people that do move it from there to under the bed at the back here. So then you put the filler cap in the center. Unfortunately, due to the way the exhaust flows through, there's a custom exhaust on this. Because of the way it flows through, I don't think I can fit that under there. So, which is not a massive issue because I think I can put a fuel cell behind the cab on the bed here. This isn't going to be used as a pickup truck, so the space is not a concern. I'm not going to be throwing things or too many things in the back and using it as a shop truck, for example. So I can put a fuel cell along the back wall here, and then just reroute the fuel in. So that's something else that we need to do before we get into the interior. So that's it. That's a rambling of the cars that I've got in the garage at the moment. If you are interested in this, if you've got a truck, if you're in the UK, if you've got some ideas of solving some of the problems that I'm looking at, do get in touch, put a comment below, drop me a message. I do want to hear, I want to see different ideas of what people have done to get these renovated. If you're interested in following the journey, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and in the next episode, hopefully all the parcels from the US will have arrived and we'll be unboxing them and seeing what we've got. So I'll see you next time.